Hello everybody. Today I am replacing all of the hoses in my Toyota MR2 Mark III. My MR2 is 20 years old next month, and that means all of the hoses are 20 years old as well. One of the main hoses up the front connecting to the radiator developed a pinhole when I was 35 miles from my house, and when that happens you realize how dependent you are on all your hoses working. And if one of them has developed a pinhole, well, at this age the others might not be far behind it. So I wanted to replace the 4 main hoses. There's 2 that come off the radiator and there's 2 more that follow on from that. And on eBay, they cost about 110 British pounds for those 4 hoses. So about 27 pounds per hose, and that fails to account for all the ancillary hoses. This bird's nest attached to the side of the 1ZZ, eventually leading to the 2 hoses that go to the overflow tank. You get none of that. And then I found a company called Stoney Racing. They have an eBay hub. I'll put a link to the eBay hub in the description. They've also got a website. It's stoney-racing.co.uk. That's STONEY-racing.co.uk. And they sell in silicone an entire 27-piece replacement kit. They do them in red and in blue. If you want to keep the appearance JDM, you can get them in black, and I've decided to try the white ones. This kit, as you see it, cost about 156 British pounds, but they also do upgrade bundles to include clips if you need them. And I've opted for the stainless steel worm drive in the bundle, and everything you see there costs about 178 British pounds. They've also offered me a discount code, so if you try ASPAREY, that is Alpha Sierra Papa Alpha Romeo Echo Yankee, they will take 10% off the price. And that would get the price per hose down from £6.60 to about £5.92 per hose, including the clips. Okay, so this is hose number 1 of 27. It's actually one of the radiator tank overflow hoses. So as you can see, the profile is pretty close to the original. So I'm going to pop that on now. I'm not going to do this for every single hose because that would make for a very long, very boring video. I'm just going to film them after they've been fitted, and if there was a problem with fitment, I'll let you know so that you're forewarned if you attempt it yourself. Reading Stoney Racing's care instructions, if you have any trouble fitting the hose over its joint, do not use an oil-based lubricant because it might damage the silicone. You need to use either silicone spray, or because it dries up later, use dishwashing soap. And that's what I'm going to use. This is hose number 1. It comes off the top of the overflow tank, leads around what would be the factory JDM airbox, and leads to this T intersection which flows into the block. Hose number 2 takes the opposite journey from a hose that feeds the thermostat and leads all the way back around where the JDM airbox would be and into the bottom of the overflow tank. Hose number 3 is also one of the thermostat hoses, and it's just a U-bend which goes around the lambda sensor. So hoses 1 to 3 are easy. Beyond this, it starts getting more involved and you're going to have to start pulling the car apart. So that begins with removing the factory airbox, which is here, then removing the intake pipe, which runs up here and hangs a right into the plenum chamber. It's also going to involve removing the battery and removing the 3 12mm screws which hold the battery mounting bracket down, and then you're into this bird's nest of hoses. Okay, hose number 4 is going to be hard work, so I'm going to film it. It is this hose here, which comes off the thermostat U-bend and then goes under the battery and disappears under the firewall. Getting rid of this spring clip here and popping it off that T intersection is looking pretty easy, but I was unable to reach the clip at the other end from the top. So I got to jack the car up, take the wheel off, climb underneath the car, and that's it there. So I've got to take that clip off and try and slide it off here with pliers. Alright, so that is number 4 at the front end. That then leads up the firewall. Popped up here, I've put the JDM sleeve back on it, and that's it there, connected to the T intersection, which eventually leads to the thermostat. Number 5 starts out at the block just here, then has its own junction built in which connects to number 1. It then hangs a right angle and then goes down to connect to a metal pipe, which then disappears under the firewall. Okay, so at the base of the oil filter, just here, on the left, that is number 6, and on the right, and that is number 7. And they're really hard to get to. That's the starter motor, and the hoses disappear up behind the starter motor into the intake manifold somewhere. So I'm going to take off the starter motor and see if I can get better access to them and replace them. I'm going to make the starter motor removal a separate video for the tuition of people who are interested in that. Okay, so with the starter motor removed, number 7 is easy enough. That's the base of it, and it connects up like that. Number 6 is really tough. While the base of it is just here and would be easy enough to remove, you can't get to it from underneath, you can't get to it from on top. Really difficult to film, but that shiny black middle band is the clamp that holds on number 6. So yeah, you just can't reach that from down here. The little tabs to grab the clamp are around the other side. You can't get to it from on top because the plastic intake manifold envelops around the top of the engine, so I'm not sure how I'm going to get to that. We're still on hose number 6. It is a tough job. You do have to remove the intake manifold, which is just here. I'm making a separate video for the intake manifold removal and gasket replacement, so you can watch that if you need to see the process. However, what it grants us is access to hose number 6. That is it there, and I could not get to it from underneath. This particular hose goes down to the base of the oil filter, so it cools the oil. It's come to my attention that American models of MR2s don't have this, so this must be a JDM only hose. And we've done it. This is number 6 from the top, and the intake manifold will go over the top of that, so it will not be visible. And from underneath the car, over the starter motor, that is number 6, which drops down the block and is connected on here at the base of the oil filter. And this guy here is hose number 8. It's going to be really hard to get to. There's clips at both ends. It tucks up under this, which I think is the air conditioning pump, or the power steering pump. So I'm going to have to drop this and take it away and see if I can get some access. I'm going to replace the thermostat while I'm at it. And here we have the silicone hose on the thermostat housing. This is number 8. At one end it connects to the thermostat bell housing, and at the other end it connects to a steel pipe under the firewall. So I'm taking the throttle body off. So far it involves taking two 12mm bolts out. There's one here and there's another one hiding just out of camera view just here. Okay, once you've got the 12mm bolts off the bottom, there's two 12mm nuts at the top there and on the other side. So you take those off. There's then an electrical plug which connects onto there. Take that off. I've pulled off this hose at the top. I think it's the exhaust gas return. Then I've pulled off these two hoses at the bottom. They, on the Stoney Racing schematic, are number 12 and number 13. And although it is still connected by the accelerator cable, the throttle body does pull away, and you can tuck it away where the battery normally goes. And if you're interested, that is the intake to the plenum chamber. That's what it looks like after 102,000 miles. Number 9 is another crankcase vent to go with number 10. It comes off the top of the throttle body and then leads to a crankcase vent valve right next to the oil filler cap. Okay, number 10 is a crankcase vent. With the throttle body removed, we can connect it to the plenum chamber at one end, and then following it around with the plastic facade of the rocker cover removed, it connects to the crankcase just here. Big deal at this end because it's just this hose here. It's number 11, I think. However, its reach actually goes down behind 12 and 13, so I had to take the throttle body back out, take 12 and 13 off, put number 11 in, and now 12 and 13 can go back. This is number 12, and that is number 13. Number 14 leads from the top of the throttle body just here, comes up and then connects to this valve here. Okay, so that is 11, 12 and 13 all in. Throttle body back on, and now the air intake and battery can go back in. Okay, so the air intake is back on and plugged in. Number 15 comes off the carbon filter and then connects onto a steel pipe which is clamped to the firewall, and at the opposing end of the rocker cover you get to number 16 on top of the oil filler cap here. And that completes the entirety of the engine bay. Alright, this is the main event, the 4 main radiator pipes that would cost about £110 if you bought just the 4-pack on eBay. So we've got number 17 hiding out down there under the power steering. Then on the opposing side we've got number 18. Then underneath the brake booster we've got number 19, which is, as best I can tell, identical to number 20. This is number 21, this is number 22. I started with 22. For your purposes, I would recommend just cutting it off with a utility knife. It's on a really long aluminium pipe, which makes it really hard to grab with pliers. And when you do grab it with pliers, not only does this tear, but you also crush the aluminium pipe. So I'm going to have to try and make that circular again. Number 23 comes from the firewall and then connects down to the main arterial radiator hosing. problem with this one was that this metal clamp, which is down here, points in the opposing direction, so there's no way to get to it from this side with pliers. I had to jack the car up, take the wheel off, and get to it down through here instead. And after all of that work, the hose just tore anyway, so you might as well just cut it off with a utility knife to begin with. Here's the finished product of number 21, number 22, and number 23. Number 24 is a straight section of heater hose, which is under the floor pan on a right-hand drive vehicle. It is directly under the passenger seat. Hose 25 is not fun. We have to drop the fuel tank. That's it. Moving on to the brake booster. That is number 26. And then we follow the steel air line up to the brake booster itself, and that is number 27. And now the front of the car is finished. That's all 27 hoses finished. Pause now if you need to see them individually.